Here, here. Let's raise a toast to the. Oh man, something's wrong with my glasses. I'm missing a lens. Yeah, well, it was it was we got double our one-eyed king money there, didn't we? Let me just mute myself. One-eyed. Be quiet, self. There we are. Hello, friends. I was planning on doing a bunch of Eamonn stuff at the beginning, but of course, all of us are still wiping our eyes. This really was about King Viserys. And just real quick, I did say, if you watch a live stream yesterday, I mentioned that Gray would be joining me tonight, Gray Area. Unfortunately, Gray Area has to work. In case you didn't know, she works in the medical field, and it's a little hectic, and sometimes you got to work on Sunday night, even though House of the Dragon is on. So we will get Gray on a different night. We've actually been trying to schedule all season. Both of us are super busy, but it will happen. She'll be here. I'll be there. And in the off season, which is going to be like almost 2 years before the next season comes, by the way, all of us will be doing a lot of collaborating. There's a bunch of people I've been meaning to get on. And in fact, tonight I will have a guest I've been meaning to have on for a while. Tawk Studios will be joining me later to help answer some questions. But Paddy Considine going to be winning some awards. May his Dragon Ball rest in peace, never to be fondled again. Held up at the meeting. So, man, he needs an Emmy like yesterday. There's no question. Many people are already saying that. And wow, what a performance all through tonight's episode. The epic hero of the week, King Viserys Targaryen, obviously, his walk down to the throne. Such an epic battle. We've had some dramatic walks in Game of Thrones, obviously of various kinds. Shout out to Cersei and the extra who played Cersei. Oh, yes. Please do. Thank you. Thank you, my dear. But that was his own personal battle there. You could really feel that. And when those doors opened, you kind of saw it coming that he was going to come to court. I saw it coming anyways. And he's there at the doors, and he's coming in. And all of a sudden, that throne room looked so long. You could see he had to walk that whole distance. And wow, he did it. And then, of course, Daemon coming to his aid as, you know, he's trying to brush off the Kingsguard, helping him again. And instead, it's his brother, Daemon. As Minty said,
I wasn't crying.
Definitely not crying on the couch. It's all Daemon ever wanted was to be his brother's strong right hand. And so there is Daemon holding up his brother's arm, helping him mount the Iron Throne one last time. Wow. That was an amazingly powerful scene, incredible performance, really well written. I love how, because I was thinking when he started, I was like, oh, maybe Daemon will go help him. And then it's like, oh, no, he's got to do it himself, you know. But Daemon coming in at the last bit to help him up the throne was amazing. So that was incredible. Very emotional. Lots of emotion. Definitely the most emotional episode of the season. Where all can I say? Yeah, OMG. It's hearts are bumping, hearts are broken. So Viserys, all through the episode, amazing performance by Paddy, of course. The dying scene, epic. I loved how quiet it was. And then, of course, you realize he's looking at Emma. He's seeing Emma. I kind of thought that was happening before. And then, of course, he said Emma at the end. My love, that's what he said. Thank you. Yeah, just about perfect. Just about perfect. So there's lots of plot stuff to go on. But definitely the emotional beat was really the thing there with the whole bit. It's like Viserys, he really is such a powerful character. Even though he is a weak king and we've criticized him over and over, you can see that he means a lot, at least to Alicent and Rhaenyra, even Otto. You know, the adults, they were like, okay, let's play nice for the king one last time. It was very touching. I kind of had the feeling Eamonn would ruin it. And you guys should have seen this coming. When I was standing Eamonn last week, you should have seen this coming. Like, you only get a couple of episodes to stand any of these characters before they turn evil. Like, we stand Kristen for a few weeks as the people's champion. those of us who read Fire and Blood, knowing full well he was going to become a D-bag or whatever you want to say. So same thing with Eamonn. Like, he's definitely run strong towards villainy here. Obviously, the menacing tone. We can see this very serious kid has grown up into a very serious young adult. You just knew he was going to spoil it. And of course, that was a moment from the book. Please enable slow mode. And so, oh, yes. Okay, let's do a little bit of that real quick. By the way, thank you for coming out. We know you do have options following the stream, and the next day, as you're looking for analysis of the episode, we will answer all questions. We will break it down. And like I said, I'll have a guest join me in about 25 minutes. So we're going to put the chat on semi-slow mode, 20 seconds. That's, if you can type faster than that, then, just settle down. Settle down. And we're also going to put this on subs only, which just means that if you want to comment, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel. And you can, there's not even a limit. You can literally hit subscribe and comment instantly. So I don't feel like it's too much to ask, but welcome. And you can ask your questions via Super Chat or, just let's say Super Chat. You can do PayPals too, but Super Chat's good for tonight. You can also join the channel, become a channel member squisher. So, all right, let's go right to that last scene. Something happened there. Viserys thought he was talking to Rhaenyra, and he's talking about the prophecy. And Alicent is listening to this, confused at first, and then she's like, I understand. I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned that something may have happened there. May have been some miscommunication, I have to say. Now, I'm a little, honestly, I'm concerned about the writing choice here. I'm not sure what they're trying to communicate. Is she really supposed to think that her son Aegon is now the fulfillment of Viserys' prophecy that she never gave a crap about? I don't know. That's a little, I guess that's what they're trying to say, but that was a little bit of a stretch to me. We'll have to see how they sort that out. I confess to not being thrilled by that. I feel like Alicent's motivations should be her own, but we'll see. We'll see. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. That's definitely a change from the books. Vaemond, speaking of changes from the books, Vaemond getting his head chopped off by Daemon was pretty fun. And I also loved how Viserys pulls his knife and then Daemon's sword, Dark Sister, chops his head off. So it's almost feels like Dark Sister and Daemon are an avatar of the king's will here. So the king pulls the knife and Daemon, almost acting like Viserys' hand, then swings the blade. So that was dope. Loved that. Now in the books, Rhaenyra eats Vaemond with her dragon, Syrax. Well, Rhaenyra, yeah. Okay, I phrased that incorrectly. Thank you. Rhaenyra has her dragon, Syrax, eat Vaemond. Gobble, gobble, chomp, chomp. And that was a little bit different, which is, I kind of missed that beat because it's sort of a level, it's showing Rhaenyra really hasn't ever used harsh justice like that. And that was a time in the books where she did do that, ramping up to the war. So I'm a little unsure about that. Giving it to Daemon is sort of taking the dirty deed off Rhaenyra's hands and putting it in Daemon's hands. So I confess to not loving that, even though it was a fun scene. And let me go back and grab a couple super chats that just came in. Eamonn sass with the strong comments at dinner was so good. Yep, that was a moment from the books that we could tell was coming just based on the previews. Very happy with how it played out. That was good. First live stream, yay. Did you hear Helena's Beasts Under the Boards prophecy? Yes, I did. Cue the beat. Yes, I'm not, we'll talk, okay, so we'll go back to that and try to figure out what that means. I need a minute to chew on that. Beasts Under the Boards. You think floorboards is what I thought. Are we talking about the rats again? This breaks my heart. Rhaenyra didn't hear this. Yeah, Ray Marin. Because Rhaenyra was uncertain about what to do, and she was looking for a vote of confidence from her father, and her father gave it to her by coming to court. But this speech was obviously meant for Rhaenyra, so yeah, that was pretty tough. So Stephanie says, I interpret it as Alicent is now extremely religious, and she immediately decides Viserys means that she and her sons are the chosen one because it confirms her sense of entitlement. Yeah, I mean, I guess. So Alicent did kind of know about the prophecy, because remember, Viserys mentioned to her at the campfire. Mentioned it to her at the campfire back in episode 2 or 3. Gunnar Dan says, I don't think he's mentioned to Alicent before. She doesn't know about the dream and just saw the king is saying Aegon is heir. No, remember, Viserys spilled most of the beans at the campfire on the hunt. Talking about a dream and his son and how he wasn't sure who it was and he thought it was Emma's son. So, well, yeah, she did, obviously he was drunk and stuff, but she's probably putting that together with whatever he's saying now, I would think. We'll have to see if she talks about this, or if it just passes quietly. Wow, Viserys' walk was the most I've ever cried on anything in Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. Labiola says, there may have been crying in this house. It was definitely, yeah. I feel like Alicent kind of was confused and then decided that she wasn't confused. I don't know I want to watch that facial acting in that scene again. Pretty suspect. Interesting here. And they showed us in this episode that Alicent, so in the promo, Alicent says he wished Aegon to be the king. So, right, that's the basic interpretation, is that Viserys wants Aegon to be king, but that's clearly not what he was saying. And he just called Rhaenyra his heir in court yesterday. So I think Alicent, we can't really say that Alicent is honestly misunderstanding that, in my opinion. Fair Giovanna, no, but I'll be happy to read your question. Papa Bungle, Viserys showing up to the throne room felt so triumphant, like a sports movie where the athlete just barely wins. It was a Rudy moment or something like that. Absolutely. It was kind of sports movie-ish. I don't know what to think of Vaemond at first, but the actor saying no matter what happens, he's going to speak the truth. Whew. Yeah, we'll have to talk about Vaemond for sure. That was a complex moral conundrum that they created. Connor Cunningham says, I think Alicent will use this to boost Aegon's claim. Yeah, clearly. The king decreed on his deathbed to give her more conviction that she's doing the right thing. I don't think it's pretty shady to be like, oh yeah, the king changed everything on his deathbed. Everyone knows Viserys is like mostly on milk of the poppy all day. So I'm not sure Alicent can use that too much, but we'll see. We'll see what happens next week. I don't think Alicent would know what the prince was promised means, as Viserys spoke with Alicent by the fire about Aegon being born with Aegon's crown. Yeah, see, I've got to go back to that fire conversation and see exactly what Viserys said to Alicent. I don't remember exactly. I just remember that he brought up his dream and all that stuff. Ray Marin, I'm super excited about the Eamon and Daemon. Let's see, so similar. Loved Daemon's look of recognition, admiration, and oh honey, I created this aesthetic. Aemon's finally a worthy opponent. Yeah, for sure. There was definitely that stare down. And Daemon is like amused by everything, but you could tell that he identified Eamon as potential foe. There was a definite face-off there. Anything symbol-wise to note, the wounds in the king's face were on the right side of his face, same side as the greens at the table. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting, Brennan. I could see that. Obviously, there's more Maester. Daemon cast suspicion on the Maesters right in the episode. When Daemon came and stood in front of Rhae and her son and turned towards Eamon, did Eamon seem somewhat intimidated by Daemon before walking out? Maybe. It might have been a lot of times bluster covers up fear and intimidation, so you could interpret it that way. But I think Eamon and Daemon both kind of just see each other and they see, it's almost like mutual respect of like fighters who they fight and they want to kill each other, but they see each other as their only real foes. In some ways, that's like a weird kind of anti-friendship, because it's somebody else that understands what you understand. Similar perspective, opposite side of the battlefield kind of thing. So real quick here, let me pull up my Nimble doc. There's one or two super chats that slipped by. And in case you're new here, what we do is I've got a doc capturing all the super chats. One of my faithful mods, won't say which one, writes down all the super chats. So if I missed yours, I will be cycling back to it at a certain point. And the idea is that the first half hour of the stream is to answer as many questions as rapidly as possible. Then it will bring my guest on, and we'll have a little more of a discussion, answer session. So throw your questions at me now. And the Vaemond thing, I put a pin in because I'm going to go ahead and talk about that with Tawk Studios. That's going to be, we're going to need to open that one up. There's, like I said, a moral conundrum there a little bit. Stephanie says, in the trailer, we saw a split second of a little boy with silver hair. So generally, Stephanie, I will say that we don't discuss the trailer and what's going to happen next week. However, you're bringing up the idea of Prince Aegon having a bastard. So in the books, this is a plot line, and we've already seen signs of Eamon philandering before this week. And remember, I mentioned that when he looked at the serving girls in the yard 2 episodes ago, they lowered their eyes and quickened their pace. And I said, we should imagine that this guy is at the very least, throwing lewd comments at the serving women, if not getting handsy or even raping them. And so we saw that tonight Eamon is a rapist. And that's, I'm not going to say that word a bunch of times tonight, but I do think it's important to label it. Diana clearly, I think we can believe her that she said no. And we know that I think Allison definitely did believe her. So yeah, that's a little something we know about Eamon. And that's not really, Aegon, so sorry. I'm sorry, Prince Eamon. I'll put my, can I go, here, I'll do the eye patch and I just want to show my respect. There we go. Aegon is a rapist. Yeah, thank you. Aemond is awesome. We like Aemond. He's a little awkward with the toasting, but yes. But in any case, in all seriousness, of course, it's always important to label the things that are happening on the show in terms of, understanding what we're seeing. Aegon is a prince who abuses his power to literally abuse those below him. That's a very bad trait in a future monarch, obviously. So just want to acknowledge that. Now, Eamon is cocky. That's the thing. Eamon is a villain that you love to hate if you're more on Team Black. And if you're on Team Green, then he's your Draymond Green, to use a sports analogy. In sports, you've always got one guy on your team that's kind of a jerk. He agitates the other team. But he's your jerk. You couldn't have 5 of those guys on your team, but you need one. Even though they cause trouble at practice sometimes. Draymond. But yeah, so if you're Team Green, Eamon is he's your D-bag. And if you're Team Black, then he's the guy you love to hate. But as you see tonight, Daemon and Eamon, these are the true vicious dragons of each side. So definitely similar big dragon energy. And there's got to be one on each side, or else how are we going to have a good war? So, yeah. Yeah, there's a war coming. Spoiler alert. No, spoiler. No, there's going to be a war.
Spoiler alert.
No, so Minty, without watching the previews, I can tell you that Rhaenyra is probably not going to be coronated next week by Alicent and Otto smoothly in the Red Keep. I don't think that's... I know!
Wait.
I think there might be controversy.
Is there some kind of succession crisis going on here?
I think there may be. Yeah, spoiler alert. It's coming. I can't believe there's going to be spoilers on this stream. David Lightbringer, I used to like your videos, but not anymore. You don't do symbolism anymore.
There's 1,100 people watching. Why is there only 180 likes? Guys, come on.
Thank you. Yeah, so please do click the like button. And click the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. That's how you can comment in the chat, of course. Welcome. So yes, the Daemon Eamon stuff, it's going to be with us for a while. So the structure of the show, just in case anybody's unclear, we're almost done with these time skips. In fact, you pretty much are done with the major time skips now. So from here on out, the show is going to progress in a much more regular fashion like it normally does. When we come back each week, it's going to be a week or two that's passed on the show. We're going to go the other 2 or 3 seasons of the show, and I'm not sure if they've said For certain, I'm thinking it's got to be 4 seasons total. But for the next 2 or 3 seasons, we're going to be fighting this war, and the time is going to progress linearly. So strap in. There's going to be a little bit of a change coming. But the point is, Daemon and Eamonn are going to be with us for a while, causing trouble, instigating, putting the backbone in their sides. Yes, and so on a happier note, how about those handsome couples? How about Bela and Jace, Luke and Rhaena? Beautiful couples, beautiful children, upstanding character. Luke's a little bit of a vicious monster, but it's got a rep for your family. Nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, wonderful looking young folks. And I also liked how they did the drama with like Rhaenys not accepting the offer at first, because she wasn't sure if Rhaenyra was in a strong enough position to even back up that offer. But then once Viserys comes to the throne room, that turned the tables on the Hightower plan. It seems like Vaemond definitely was conspiring with the Hightowers. I mean, sitting in the small council meeting with the judges before the trial. Like, okay, that's pretty clear. Then Vaemond, when King Viserys does appear in court, Vaemond turns and looks at Otto like, oh, our plan? What happened to our plan? I'm like, dude, keep it on the DL, bro. But, of course, those were his last 15 minutes of life. Rest in peace.
Which reminds me of this super chat that you missed.
Which reminds me of the super chat. Which one?
From Ash, saying, I'm glad the last thing Viserys saw was his family together being happy and not fighting, even if it was a facade.
So in case you guys didn't hear that, Ash says, I'm glad the last thing Viserys saw was his family together being happy and not fighting, even if it was a facade. I thought it was very nice of, like I said, the adults to play nice for Viserys, even if they didn't totally mean it. Although you could see that there was still these little last seeds of goodwill. Alicent and Rhaenyra, they did sort of. There was a little moment there where they're like, "Oh man, maybe they still care about each other a little bit." But yes, it was nice. Viserys was so emotional this episode, and you literally did feel happy for him, even though he's a pretend character on a fantasy show. What? Yes. Hazy Dave says, Viserys, I will... what now? What is this?
Shit.
Disrespect of King Viserys? Oh, yeah, I will sit the throne today. We don't need to talk about whatever happened on that throne, if there's any parts of Viserys left behind. The last thing he heard was Alicent misinterpreting his dream. Yeah, that's true, but the last thing he saw, I guess, was his family playing nice. Stop with the lies. What lies, Roberta? I think that's a response to my joke from 30 seconds ago that I've already forgotten. Sorry, I have ADD. I'm looking at these super chats here. Are there any others I missed, or are we good?
Yeah, let's see.
Well,
Go down to the bottom.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know. There's so many. Which is great, you guys. Thank you.
Which is, yes, thank you. I'm just trying to see which ones I've read and which ones I haven't. Let's see here. Michael says, I loved Rhaenyra and Rhaenys finally coming to common ground and finally agreeing they're on the same team in the grand scheme. Yeah, you can see how Rhaenys is, though. She is not sentimental. She's making purely political decisions. When Rhaenyra didn't have the strong hand, she didn't agree to the match. And then once King Viserys appeared and changed the balance, that's when she took. I saw it coming, too. As soon as King Viserys did, I was like, oh, Rhaenys is going to accept Rhaenyra's proposal right in open court, and that is what happened. So you can see Rhaenys has suffered so much trauma that, like, she's beyond feeling sentimental about much of anything, it seems like.
And also declare it in front of everybody so Rhaenyra couldn't take it back.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, she did, by declaring it in open court, yeah, that certainly seals it. Because it is a great offer. Beasts under the boards. Yeah, my first thought, like I said, is the rats. Because if those are the floorboards, the only thing under the floorboards are the rats. And they're beasts because even though they're small, and there's 2 rats in the background of my setup, if you could spot them. Hey, they may not be in view. There's one here, right there. See, he's chewing on the books. There he is. There's that rat. There's another one right here. So yeah, so you got to watch out. They will find you. They'll eavesdrop and it could be a blood and cheese reference. Yeah, Roberta, I like that. We can't talk about it because it's a spoilery thing, but definitely works as it's just an extension of the rats. Because the thing is, those maesters and those rats and the various whisperers and things in the Red Keep, they're not going away. They're going to be with us. So there'll be more beasts under the board. So yeah, again, if I missed your super chat, it's on a list. Please don't repeat that I missed your super chat. I know I'm getting there. Because the thing is, when you give quality answers to the questions, the answers tend to take longer than the questions come. So doing my best. Let's see. Where is Daron? Daron presumably is in Old Town. I believe that he is going to be there on season 2 because supposedly there is 4 bloodlines flowing from Alicent's icon in the intro. Someone told me, I forget. I didn't see it myself, but I think he's coming. But we'll get excited about that next season. He hasn't been cast yet. We don't know who it is, but he should be coming. Vaemond lost his bid to be head of the household. He sure did, Hazy Dave. Lost his head completely. You can see how sharp Valyrian steel is. It cuts clean, real clean. Got a whole anatomy cross-section there. Loved that. That was dope. Where was Larys? Creeping around under the floorboards, most likely. I do associate the rats with Larys without any sort of green seer theory, of course. No. It's confirmed.
That's confirmed, yeah.
Well, regardless of that theory, I definitely think that the rats are a metaphor for all of the whisperers and rumor mongers and bloodsuckers in the Red Keep. That Mysaria scene probably will come back next week, I would think. So she was getting information from, Talia? Okay, so that's Alicent's chief handmaiden, who is in on the secret about Aegon and the girl he raped, the handmaiden that he raped, Deanna. So remember, Talia was there with the Moon Tea. She knew about that. So that's what we should assume that she informed to Mysaria. So Mysaria now knows about this Diana girl and will probably use that in the future, so we'll see. Did they kill Diana? They gave her some gold, which kind of implies that they're asking her to go away. We should not be surprised if she turns up dead. And that could be something that Larys might do on his own, or it could be something that Alicent coordinates. We don't know how far down that road Alicent has gone as far as using Larys to do murders, but we shall see. No dragons, sad. Yeah, but we did get gooey dragon eggs. That was nice and disgusting, but awesome. Daemon Targaryen, still a boss, still doing the true dragon stuff, climbing up into the vents of Dragonstone to find an egg. This answers a question, at least in the book canon, that I've had for a while, which is the dragons on Dragonstone, where do they hang out? Do they just roost up in caves on the mountain? That is what I assumed. So we see that Daemon did indeed hike up the volcano of Dragonstone to find a cave where Syrax has laid a clutch of eggs. So we know that on Dragonstone, the dragons do live a little more wild. So, Cassandra, if you want to try to repeat your message, I will look for it. Send a super chat with no message. Got kind of emotional watching Viserys drop his crown and Daemon right there behind him to help his brother. The brotherly love is real. Shanice, yeah, that one probably came in earlier when I was talking about that. Big feels, Shanice, for sure. Like I said, definitely no crying in this house at all. And let's see, read that one. Kyle says, you're my boy, LML. Why wouldn't Rhaenyra just tell Rhaenys the truth at this point and win her support? I am not sure. I'm sure there's a reason I haven't thought of, but I can't think of why they didn't tell Rhaenys that Laenor is not actually dead. It can't be just to keep the secret. Rhaenys can keep a secret. Maybe they thought that she wouldn't allow Driftmark to pass if he was still alive, or she'd go try to find her son and be like, come here and do your responsibility, no running off and being gay and Essos. It's not really how Rhaenys talks, but yeah, I don't know. I can't think of the reason why why they wouldn't tell Rhaenys. Rhaenys would want to bring him home. Yeah, I guess that's what I was sort of zeroing in on. Still no Celtigar love. No Eric Killmonger. We did get lots of crabs with the crab feeder, but no Celt. I made a Celtigar joke. That's as close as we came. Did Alicent poison the servant girl? We'll have to wait and see. No. They made her drink moon tea, obviously. And moon tea is not without risks. Moon tea can have side effects, so... oh, look at the time. It's just slipping on by here. Let me go ahead and bring Tawk Studios in. Talk, if you're watching, go ahead and dial in. I was supposed to send you a text message, but you're in the chat, so here, I'll just send you a message. Come on in, Talk. And, yeah. What did Daemon smell in the cup? Definitely something more than just milk of the poppy. Them damn maesters. I think he was definitely looking for something other than milk of the poppy. The question is, did he find it? All right, so Mr. Tawk Studios, I'll be adding you here on the right side. Shall I call you Tawk Studios, or shall I use your real name?
You can call me Carter.
Say it again?
You can call me Carter.
We shall call you Carter. Carter, a.k.a. Tawk Studios. Long time coming, my friend. A stalwart of great comments in the chat. And a YouTuber yourself. Please drop your links first.
Okay, well, it's Tawk Studios on everything, pretty much, on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. That's the main stuff.
But it's talk like T-A-W-K talk.
T-A-W-K.
Tawk
Studios.
Like squawk, and, like a bird.
Yeah. We do video breakdowns and behavioral analysis and stuff, and Oklahoma news, Oklahoma law, that type of stuff.
So a variety of talk media, if you will. See what I did there?
Oh yeah.
See, I'm running with your theme, your marketing, your branding.
Oh yeah.
So let me
I'm excited.
Yes, I know you're very nervous. First time on the David Lightbringer show. Everyone's always quaking with excitement when they come on for the first time. But if you can, master your tongue, sir. Tell me what you thought about this episode. Broadline takeaway, I've covered already, as you've heard, a little bit about Viserys, a little bit about Alicent hearing that prophecy at the end. I want to get into Vaemond with you, but yeah, top of the line takeaway. What did you think of the episode?
I liked it. I thought it was definitely a change of pace from what we'd had the past two episodes. I feel like we had a lot of action the past two episodes with the kids, and I feel like this one moved a little more slowly. We had a little more emotional development with, everyone around Viserys at the end of his life, which was pretty intense. I liked the episode, though. I thought they did a good job of developing the kids without really doing a whole lot. They did it kind of passively with the way they were reacting. That one scene with him coming in, nobody really says much, and you really get a lot from everyone and where they are in their relationships with one another just from, him walking in. Oh, I think you...
Yes. Welcome now. See, now you're baptized. You've been through an LML mute. This is all official now. So going around the table, yes. So Jace, very serious kid, much like Eamonn. Both take everything very seriously. We could see that Aegon is not only a philanderer and an abuser, but also loves to throw the barbs in. It's like him and Luke have a little bit of similar energy as far as the being really gamey. It seems like Luke ordered the pig brought in because they kept.
I was wondering about that.
They kept cutting to his face and Aemon's face, and Luke was the one who brought the pig out of the catacombs. So I feel like Luke sort of owned that joke, and they're developing a little bit of obviously a rivalry since Luke took Aemon's eye out. Pretty cheeky for Luke to taunt Aemon like that.
That's what I thought. After that scene out there in the the courtyard with them training, uh, he's definitely leveled up. Compared to everyone else, they don't want anything to do with him now.
They made him
He's
look
so
pretty
advanced.
deadly out there, didn't they?
Hmm.
They definitely did. Yeah, I don't know. I was obviously stuntman or whatever, but they had him do some pretty flashy sword stuff. And then obviously he's able to best Kristen Cole, who we're supposed to imagine is, a very a warrior with much prowess. And of course, then there's the
Kingsguard. So
right. Is he the Lord Commander at this point, or is Harold still around? I forgot.
I'm just thinking, even being on the Kingsguard is a really, you know, that's a big thing for people in the realm. You got to have some skills.
Yeah, and to the fact that they've given the training of the princes over to him, that kind of shows you. Like Loras on the Kingsguard, would do extra sword training with Tommen, I believe it was, being a one of the most skilled knights in the land. So that makes sense. And yeah, I love the bit about Aemond's not caring about tournaments. Shout out to Rhaegar, who similarly was too serious for tournaments. So not that he's the same person as Rhaegar, but we see like a tournament is sometimes used to distinguish between different types of characters. So he's the I don't care about the tournament type. And he spat that out too, didn't he?
Well, I think he was, as he did at the dinner table, he often kind of double speaks. And right there, I think he was definitely hinting at the fact that I'm not training for a tournament. I'm training for the next time y'all step to me. I'm going to end all of y'all. And I think they picked up on that.
And he immediately cut to, nephews, have you come to train? So
yeah, is that what you're here for? No. We're good.
Yeah, so that was definitely pointed and interesting that like he noticed Emmanuel, just hold tight, buddy. I guess we're supposed to be impressed that like even while he was sword fighting, he noticed Jace and Luke walk up to the crowd, so that as soon as he won the fight, he knew already that he was going to turn and say something to them. So he's just kind of on top of it. He's hyper aggressive. He's very serious. And didn't take the pig joke well. So I see some people in the chat did not catch the pig joke. But yes,
the pig getting set on the table. Yeah, I mean, they didn't comment on it, and nobody said anything about being brought. He didn't even say anything about the pig. He just reacted by doing another, kind of underhanded comment to them.
Yeah, right. He slammed his fist on the table and then stood up. And I also liked, so I like the fact that it's not purely, because we knew that it would be Eamon who messed up the piece of this dinner, just those of us who had read Fire and Blood. But I like that it wasn't just him by himself. Like, he was goaded a little bit. Aegon was goading Jace, and then Jace went and danced with Helena, which in the books it says Aegon was offended by that. So they borrowed that from the books.
You could see a little bit. I like I said earlier, they're doing a lot without talking this episode. The kids, I thought, young actors did a great job this episode at that table. Him in particular, he was given kind of Joffrey vibes at the table, just being a menace to everyone at the family.
Major Joffrey vibes from Aegon. Yeah, so. And I think that's important. It's an important commentary on sort of the hypocrisy of Alicent. They've made it very plain in the books. We've gone into Alicent's psychology a lot here. But the idea that, like, it's not just the paternity of Jace, of Rhaenyra's kids, that will be used to challenge her claim. The idea that Rhaenyra and Daemon are dangerous and reckless is also a plot line. And so it's like, well, yeah, but the one you want to put on the throne is not, there's not much good to say for him. It's not like you're trying to put this good candidate that's going to, be a good king on the throne by any means.
Yeah, they don't really have a good candidate. I thought, backtracking a little bit to the petitions in the court, I thought they were going to really go through, like I had my list numbered out. I was like, okay, number 1, Vaemond, number 2, Rhaenyra. Oh shit. Viserys is blowing up this whole thing, But
yeah.
I thought they were each going to get to lay their claim out.
And Yeah, it's basically the Greens were more or less almost ready to try their coup right there, it seems like. And Viserys kind of interrupted it. They were using Vaemon's claim. Because the thing is, if they decide in favor of Vaemond, then they are basically saying that Rhaenyra's kids are bastards right there. And that would start the dominoes of stealing the throne. So that was intense. That was almost a coup that got foiled. And then we had this brief moment of Rhaenyra and Alicent connecting. Rhaenyra, I'll return on Dragonback. I'm sure everyone caught the menacing layer of foreshadowing there. Before it goes by, Helena also standing up and being like, oh, he'll just ignore you unless he's drunk. Like, that was kind of edgy there, telling on Aegon like that.
That's the most straightforward, information we've got from her this season.
That's true. That's her actually saying something that isn't a prophecy, right?
Yeah. But, I mean, I thought, the way that they laid their claims out, I kind of went through and was trying to identify his argument, Vaemon's argument. He was basically saying, I'm Corlys's brother and I've been there forever. I'm like a lifelong guy at the place. I know everything about it. That was his only claim, because he wasn't going to come out and say that, like, Corlys's grandkids are nonsense or anything. I'm just going to say, these are my claims. And he really didn't have much. You're muted. I think you're muted again.
One of these days I'll get it together. I was going to say he kind of implied it by saying, talking about the true Valerian blood, and also when he said that he was Corlys's next of kin. That's essentially saying without saying that those kids aren't his kin, even though they're Laenor's sons. So he said it without saying it. But then when pushed, and even you love that line from Daemon, it's like, say it.
Yeah, right. I didn't look, but I'm wondering if he was like gripping his sword hilt when he was saying that. He's like, come on, you can say it.
For sure. So let me see here real quickly. What is the prophecy? So I guess if you joined in late, beasts beneath the boards got to be the rats. That's the only thing, because the boards would be the floorboards. We've seen the rats are a running theme. We've seen the rats preying on the king, and the rats are not done. And the rats sort of represent people like Lares, Mysaria, various other rumor mongers and whisperers. So that's if I get another brainwave on that, I'll let you know. But that's kind of what I have for interpreting that. LML, the M stands for mute. Thank you, Aaron, my squisher friend, my sub squisher. Oh, I've got a treat for my sub squishers. Actually, I'll break that out in just a minute. I got a little sub squishment from all my sub squishers. So, couple of questions that I missed here. I think Alicent will use this to boost Aegon's claim. Yeah, okay, I read that one. Yep. And she obviously will. She might only use it internally, like not with the kingdom, but maybe to convince Aegon or Otto, or not Otto. Otto doesn't need convincing, sorry. But maybe like, her kids or other people around her. We'll have to see. I'm still a little confused about that.
Yeah, I didn't. I think that it's one of those things that Otto would instruct his daughter to keep in her back pocket, getting that information passed along.
So what do you think they're trying to do from a writing perspective, just to like give Alicent one little extra justification for doing this usurpation that she's about to do, obviously?
I think so. I think that I think Alicent's got all the motivation she needs, though. I think that they're looking to I think they're trying to bring some of those other characters back into the storyline. I think with the way that they wrote Mysaria into the story, she's kind of been looped out of everything. So they're kind of using her as like a spy network over in the brothel.
Yeah, they sort of established her character as being sort of disaffected from Daemon, and then she's established herself as a rumor monger, and now years have passed. So we should imagine that she might be running Flea Bottom by now, for all we know. So she's kind of there to use when they need to be one of these players that moves things behind the scenes. So I'm sure they'll continue to skillfully use the whisperers and runners and stuff like that. So people did notice that Alicent's chambermaid had been mentioned by name. Talia, is it Talia or Talia? Talia had been mentioned by name a few times. And so we see tonight that she's in on Alicent's deep secrets and is reporting to Mysaria. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on in the future. Let's see here. I'm super excited about Eamon and Daemon, says Ray Marin. So similar. Loved Daemon's look of recognition, admiration. Oh, I read that one too. But what did you talk? Give me your thoughts on the Eamon Daemon stare off there.
So I think Daemon stood up to, as he often does, establish his energy in the room. He basically got up and with his energy said, "You're going to need to cut this out." And you could tell he was picking up on the vibes that Daemon was laying down because he didn't say anything. He just walked off.
Yeah,
and then Daemon looked like followed him out to the hallway maybe.
And you noticed the kids all listened to Daemon like that. He was like, "Go to your room." He's just like Jace. He said one word, I forget what it was, but basically he called their name or just said one thing, and they all listened. So you love the dad, the sort of Papa Bear Daemon energy there for sure. And he just cut somebody's head off in open court earlier that day. So if you're Eamon, you definitely got to be like, okay, it's that guy. He doesn't fuck around either. So yeah.
And it looked like Rhaenyra was actually scared of Eamon a little bit in that scene whenever he stood up. Like she was legit concerned about what he was about to do at the table.
I didn't see that. I'll have to look for that on the rewatch. Yeah. And you remember Eamon definitely stared right down in Rhaenyra's face when he was talking about claiming Vhagar last time. So like I've said, Eamon has been on the train of there's going to be a war since he was 9 or earlier. So we know that. And let me see here.
I have some stuff from earlier in the episode too, but I know we kind of talked about some of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, while you do that, I will grab the little surprise that I have for my sub-squishers. So yeah, go ahead and take it for about 60 seconds, and I'll be right back.
Okay. So I was interested to start the episode off that Daemon was down there checking out Caraxe's clutch, it looked like. And we'd never really seen them lay eggs. We hadn't really seen the eggs outside of those little holding canisters they have. And the petrified eggs that we saw in a Game of Thrones. So it was cool to see how they're laid. It's almost like they're laid in like a little tar pouch. Yeah, Syrax. Did I say Carax? Syraxes. But it was cool to get to see some of that because we really hadn't. And we know now that, the number of dragons is increased. So I thought that was interesting, just getting more insight on the dragon's reproduction. Another thing, first time we see Viserys again was pretty dark. Speaking of dark.
Yes, these are all good points that you make.
Welcome back.
No, carry on.
Oh, I was saying, first time we see V back, he is looking rough. And he even mentions to Daemon and Rhaenyra, like, I haven't seen you guys in forever. And instead of being like, oh yeah, you look great, it's so good to see you, they're like, we're here for petitions. We can't. None of them can really look at him. They're very, disturbed by seeing him in this state because none of them had seen him for a while. But I just thought it was interesting how, everyone's still coming around, even on his deathbed, trying to petition and get something from him.
Well, I'm disappointed in you, man. How did you keep a straight face that whole time, not even blink?
No, I like it. I like it. I'm used to the horns more, but I feel like I watch this so much that this is I know you as with your mask almost more than normal face. So
Straight G, Talk
it's my comfort
Studios.
zone.
Doesn't even flinch. He's like, yeah, fine, squish your mask, whatever. I just keep rolling here. So Minty threw that on for Cleo earlier today. She didn't think that much. She didn't care that much. Goose was a little wigged out. But yes, so yeah, if you join the channel, if you click the join button, you'll be signing up to pay me $5 a month. You will become a squisher. And you get various squisher icons next to your name. Your name is highlighted in green, as you see on there, and you can use some special emojis like the Cleo emoji, and you get to sort of just be in on the squisher humor. That's really the thing. That's what's going on here. Is we got Nimble Dick and squisher humor. I have a Nimble Dick costume. Now I have a squisher costume. So expect more comedic brilliance or subpar, whatever it is, from me in the future. And thank you. Welcome to the Squishers, time-traveling necromancer, and just a minute ago, Johnny Small, and I think, was there one more? Okay, just those two. Thank you. Thank you for everyone who's been joining. Those trickle in during the week, like little squisher eggs drifting down from the surface to rest calmly on the bottom of the ocean. Yes, or like a Valerian coffin of stone and wood being dumped into very shallow water. I was confused about that. Why didn't they dump the sarcophagus in deeper water? It's like not really resting in the sea so much as like the shoals, right?
Yeah, and maybe I'm not. I'm from Oklahoma. You maybe have more expertise on how the tides work, but I don't know how putting a coffin right there on the shore is going to work out long term. I feel like that might come back on you.
It's questionable. Yeah. So, I feel like that whole scene should have been on a boat, and then they push it off the plank or something, But
or do like a Viking combo funeral where you send it off, and then a dragon torches it like as it floats off. Something
that would have been
like
dope. You're hired, Talk. Oh wait, I don't work for HBO. I can't hire you. I'm sorry. You were almost hired there as cultural development specialist, but so close. Hey, girl. Hi. Were you crying out for me, girl? Were you crying out in the darkness? It's the real pink
Underwater
dread.
cemeteries in Florida, according to Carl Karsnark.
What did Carl say?
They have underwater
cemeteries here.
Florida?
Carl's from Florida? That explains everything. No wonder he has so much eclectically useless knowledge. I'm kidding, Carl. You have lots of useful knowledge too, but you do have a lot of very off-the-wall facts. And Florida's the weirdest place in America if you're not from America, by the way. Thank you, girl. Thank you. Yes, your tail is gorgeous. And thank you, Squishers, for filling the chat with pink emojis. All right, girl, step down. Step down. Right there. Okay. All right. Yes, like I said, the real pink dread. The real pink dread. So let me just real quick, I want to get through a couple of super chats that I missed just so we can be up to date. And then I want to dive into the Laenor, the Vaemond thing, because this is, like I said, an ethical dilemma that we need to talk about. I am looking forward to your thoughts on that. But real quick, not Viserys trying to paper over the powder keg he created. No, he's been trying to do that the whole time, and so his last act was like one more last effort to just, please, can't we all just join hands and get along? And at least it moved them for a minute. Like I said, we were happy for him. He got to see his family showing some appreciation. So I like how they wrote all that for Viserys, his last episode. Would you agree with me that Patty's cruising towards some awards or what? I mean, I don't know. I guess Emmys, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much Patty Considine you'd seen before this.
None.
He had done great stuff. Most of the mainstream stuff he had done was with like Simon Pegg and some of their series of movies that they did. He did some roles in that, but he was always like a character actor comedic, relief type of role. This is crazy compared to what he normally, what we saw him in at least.
Yeah, so I think
I-
both him and Matt Smith have sought these roles out because it's a different than what they've done, and Matt's talked about that as well. So I think they're both enjoying stretching out their skills, and they both may win awards. They've both been fantastic all season, and of course they play off each other very well. But yeah, Viserys. So we do hero and villain of the week here talk. I named Viserys my hero. Villain of the week. Who's our villain of the week?
I think the guy who was talking about, if my cousin can't pleasure you, maybe I can swing by and take care of that for you. That was pretty villainous.
Yeah. So I think
Terrible.
Aegon. Yeah. So Aegon, raped a woman. That's
Yeah.
villainous as it
Not
comes.
cool.
And then he was agitating at the feet. He was the first one starting shit at the table, actually. Before Eamonn did his toast, in fact, Aegon was saying some pretty rude shit to Jace. And he kept up with it, too. It was like he kept up with it the whole dinner. And Jace is sitting there playing the good son, the good grandson. Yeah, it's funny. So, like, Jace is playing, like I said, doing really well, being on his best behavior, even though he's angry. Luke, meanwhile, is starting shit with his little pig joke. And then you have Aemond kind of hanging tight, and Aegon starting shit. So it's like all the different brothers have their own personalities going different ways. Yeah, Luke's a little bastard. He's he's a lovable little bastard, but I mean, it is what it is. So he is. And shout out to Joffrey, the cutest kid of them all, man. That's adorable little curly brown headed kid. Oh man, I hope nothing bad happens to any of these kids. Anyways, moving right along.
We learned to love them. I think that's one of the reasons they're kind of scooting us along on some of these kids younger on. They don't
You got to
get too-
enjoy the characters while we can. That's what I keep saying. Like, if you catch them doing anything nice, celebrate it, because next week they're gonna kill somebody or something. Like, so it's just yeah. In case anybody joining late, you saw a big roast pig brought in and set down right in front of Aemond, and Luke was staring at him the whole time and then laughing afterwards. So pretty clear that this is a continuation of the pink dread joke, which, if there was a little bit of rapport, meaning if Luke hadn't plucked Aemon's eye from his face with a knife, perhaps this would be like, remember that joke we used to do when we were kids? You have Vagar now, so it's all good. I mean, but
Right.
of course, absent any rapport, it was more of a provocation.
No subtlety, no rapport. Yeah, you need at least one of those things to pull off a joke like that. Otherwise, it's just picking on the person who's way stronger than you and way better trained now, which is not a good move.
So do you want to, I picked very easy picks, like hero Viserys, obviously very heroic, and Aegon, very villainous. Would you like to pick runner-up hero and villain, or just name characters that you thought expressed heroism or villainy that we haven't mentioned?
I think Daemon took a step towards being more of a hero in this episode than he had. He's definitely grown up a little bit. He's, acting on behalf of Viserys versus, kind of doing his own little drama on the side. For a while, he looked like he was going to be the one to go take Driftmark and Dragonstone and everything, in the sea. But now he's cutting off Corlys's brother's, head for his brother now, and trying to correct the kids and helping out at the dinner, helping his brother up to the throne. I think he's really developed a lot from how we met him in the first episode in the brothel.
Yeah, and even last week we saw Daemon refuse Viserys' overtures of brotherhood. He was pretty cold to him at the funeral. So finally, in Viserys' last weakest moments, Daemon relents and lets bygones be bygones. Now, also a little bit of self-interest. Obviously, Daemon and Rhaenyra are there trying to get their side of this dispute happening. But I don't think that really took away from the brotherliness of the moment too much. So I did just see those 4 super chats come in. Let me roll through the ones that I missed and catch up real quick. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate your questions. It's fun for me to do this program and have it be driven by you guys. I do enjoy that. It's just a matter of trying to keep up. And like I said, I like to give long, thoughtful answers. I assume that's why you guys are coming here, of course. So yeah, thank you, everyone. Paul Paku Khan agrees that beasts under the boards are probably spies in the castle, such as Mysaria and Lares, via the rat metaphor, because the rats are the ones under the floorboards. But I also think Helena's ahead of the curve. So there could be a more specific something treacherous that happens beneath the floorboards. If we see people sneaking around in a basement, we should just think about that. Look for any basement or underneath boards, other kind of boards, maybe a dock. Who knows? Floorboards are the obvious thing, but anyways, we just have to. It hasn't happened yet. It's a prophecy, so
maybe beasts too. Like looking for a different angle on the beasts. Any other beasts that we? I thought dragons at first down in the dragon pits, but I don't know how many boards they have over there. So
yeah, that's the confusing part. Is how would dragons be beneath the boards? I think beast probably does allude to like beastly humans, but also the rat metaphor kind of works there. We'll see if they call a rat, the beasts, these, somebody maybe sees a rat like, oh, these beasts are everywhere. We'll look for something like that. Jake says, I love the strong speech. The Rhaenyra's boys stopped fighting after Daemon came between them. Yes, the stepdaddy Daemon said stop. I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, they all listened like that. Both sides really got to respect that. Brenda Rush says, if the prince would have to pay in any way for assaulting those women. Well, no, because Alicent is a giant hypocrite. And she protects Kristen Cole from consequences, and she's protecting her son from consequences. I really am curious to see if that girl turns up dead, and if Alicent is complicit, or if Lares has a hand in it. I felt like that bag of gold had a skull attached to it, didn't you, Talk?
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know about you. I don't know how many people you've put down for this type of stuff, but I don't know how many people you pay before you kill. That's kind of a Grand Theft Auto move. You pay them and then you kill them and take the money back or something. But I don't know. Give them tea and money and then kill them. It's a waste of good tea.
Yeah, that's true. If they're giving her tea, like there's no point in doing that. I guess if they're just gonna kill her.
The crown has plenty of money.
So yeah, right. Yeah. Money's not really a thing, but. Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, Lares acts on his own, so he may just take out the thing. But I think what they're trying to show us is that Mysaria knows about it and that she's going to do something with that information. So we'll see. We'll see what happens to that. And you could see Mysaria try to maybe the next time Aegon gets somebody pregnant, maybe she'll be there to secret the girl away and use the bastard for something in the future. But yeah, it was Moon Tea that she gave him, definitely.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Reesh Girl Ali. Yeah, no problem. Money's not a thing. Let's see here. Andrela says Paddy Considine deserves like 10,000 awards. Yeah, I think that's becoming consensus. And just thank you, Paddy Considine, for your performance as King Viserys. I mean, what a treat.
What a legend.
What a treat. Yeah, what a legend.
And Otto. I thought his performance as Otto has been pretty epic. He's another guy who normally plays kind of a comedic role.
So Emmanuel, and your question's not too much. I do want to understand it, though. You're wondering if there is impotency parallels between Daemon and Eamonn. And you're saying something about the hog. I don't know what the pig or the hog would have to do with impotency symbolism, though, so I'm not putting that together. But if you want to clarify, I will comment on it. We'll talk about most anything here. Just want to understand what you are asking about there. Let's see here. Eamonn strikes me as the type of dude that, like, I don't even know if the guy has... He's just so serious, like... I don't know. He's not a dallier. I could see him falling in love with somebody, but like in a twisted way or something. I don't know. I just don't see him. He's just ready. He's been ready to go to war since he was 9. I don't know. The guy's like overly serious. He's got issues. In any case, moving along, and let me see if Emmanuel followed up. Is he still in the chat, or did he ball out? Well, all right. Well, let me know if he follows up. Hazy Dave. Oh, I read that one. Swinny the Pooh. You really opened my eyes to the symbolism in these episodes. Not Team Green, but I love Eamonn. Great casting choice. Yeah, I encouraged everyone to think more in terms of characters than teams at the beginning of the studio talk, because there are so many characters to enjoy, but if you put all the people on one side together, it's like it's hard to baptize either side, really. So it's more about enjoying the characters. Who are your favorite characters so far?
I think a lot of them are, but to kind of elaborate on what you said, I think A Song of Ice and Fire is really about the characters, and I think they're doing a good job in the show of taking one of those anthology series and kind of making the characters really rich when there wasn't a lot there to begin with to go off of. But my favorite characters, like I said, I love... I can't think of his name. Is it Reese something that's playing Otto?
Reese Ifans, yeah. Who's normally a comedian, if you could believe that.
Yeah. Notting Hill and Replacements are the two things I think of with him in it. He was the kicker in Replacements, and like Hugh Grant's flatmate, crazy comedic relief in Notting Hill.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah, I've got to see. I've never seen him in a... When I found that out, I was like, wow. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Comedians definitely sometimes make great actors, but yeah, he's so cold and like just so Otto. He's just so Otto-y.
I think The Replacements would probably be one that's like a really good polar opposite character role that he was in.
But, so yeah,
he's probably one of my favorites. I think Damon. For sure, because I really hadn't seen Matt Smith in anything other than Morbius, which, we got to see him kind of doing some dance moves and stuff, but I don't think he got to flex his acting muscles as much in Morbius as he has here. He's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you can see, like I said, both actors really enjoying the challenge, sought out the acting challenge for that sake, and are eating it up. So definitely a treat. And again, another comment. So I haven't watched the preview of next week, but apparently there is a little blonde baby that's in a weird non-court looking setting. So maybe that moon tea didn't work, or maybe Mysaria has anti-moon tea that she gave her, but like this will unmoon tea the moon tea, and then we could have that baby. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Plan C.
Well, because Mysaria got the information from Taylor. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm just looking for a way that Mysaria is going to try to use that knowledge against that.
Damon, maybe?
What's that?
Maybe she passes it off to Damon to use against them.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be one of those things that, well, we'll have to see. Any bastard is a political liability. Like Cersei had Robert's bastards killed because potentially they can be used to, mount another challenge to the throne, but it could also just be used to create scandal and smear Aegon a little bit too. So we'll just have to see. I don't like to get too far ahead of where we are, because I've read Fire and Blood, and I don't like to, just want to take the show as it comes. But that's obviously a plot line that's going somewhere. So we'll see next week. And let's see. Cassandra says, there was not a message. It was just a super chat. Thank you. And yeah, what do you think? Do you think the Maesters were putting something else in the cup other than milk of the poppy?
I think that from the beginning, they're always doing a little bit more than they say they're doing.
Yeah.
Nobody ever double checks them.
Right.
If I was there, I would have my own, people there just in case. I would not rely 100% on, especially with their alignment down there in Old Town and the High Towers trying to move in like this. I think I would just, maybe a neutral third party to come in just to check the work a little bit.
Yeah, we did see that change with the change in Maester when Melos went away. We saw fewer Maesters and we saw Viserys in better health. But these last 6 years, it's been Viserys has given up. He's just like, Otto and Alicent handle all that now. Like, he's relinquished it all to them. So, loved the last show of strength from him to try to stand up for his daughter. Cash is asking, why did Viserys tell Allison the prophecy? He thought it was Rhaenyra. He thought he was continuing that conversation that he was having with Rhaenyra earlier. So that's what was going on there. So is the prophecy...
Got some milk before bed. So
right.
Probably tripping.
Yeah, exactly. Brenda Rush says, is the prophecy lost? Right, the guy's on like liquid opium all the time, so you can't blame him for getting people confused. Exactly. So Fatima says, I think they gave him the leprosy. I've said that is possible because the maesters they investigate diseases and stuff. So they could have some leper chained up in a basement somewhere to try to cure him and study his disease. They could take a tissue culture of it, and they could have given him leprosy. Yeah, it's not impossible. I do think it's more of a thing where it's just a symbolism thing showing that the realm is, afflicted. And I think the maesters are just not helping cure him as best they can. So, yeah. And I am getting to the super chats if I missed yours. Oh, sorry, what talk? Go ahead.
It's like as if his claim is wasting away. Like he hasn't really done a lot with his life, and his claim to the throne's being passed on, and him slowly wasting away is him losing control over that claim, and his children losing the claim.
And a couple people have noticed the potential symbolism. Brennan pointing it out. Something to add. The right side of his face is kind of where all the rot is, and that's the side of the table that the Greens sit on. And his left arm is gone, same side as the Blacks. So could there be... the thing is, I had associated his rotten hand with Otto earlier because Otto was his rotten hand. So I'm not sure if that's a specific symbolism or not. I will say that the symbolism is the stuff I usually catch on the second watch. On the first watch, it's mostly about the story, and I'm so sucked into the conversations and the action that the subtleties don't, that's more a second watch thing. So that's why I usually do the symbolism review later in the week. But I will look for all that stuff and put a pin in that. Thank you, Brennan. And it's definitely not far-fetched. Like I just said, his wounds are supposed to be symbolic. So the idea that the placement and stuff, like I said, the hand seemed to be a symbolic wound. We talked about maybe the idea that it started on his back because he doesn't have a strong enough spine, doesn't have a strong back. So... Mm-hmm. What do you think about Aegon's comment about Alicent and Viserys never being proud of him? I don't buy it. Not an excuse for his behavior. Good. I'm glad you pointed that out. I think it's just, it's not acceptable as an excuse, but it is nevertheless part of an explanation for how he's gotten the way he is. It's always a matter of perspective shift. Like if you're sitting Aegon down in front of you on a stool, it's your fault, son. You need to straighten up. But if we as writers and viewers are thinking about how each character's motivations work, well, he's got a lot of weird pressure on him. He's kind of not the heir, but his mom is trying to say, oh, we actually might you be the king, but that's going to require putting you in the middle of a war, which I might do. So buckle up. It is a lot of pressure. And he seems to respond to that by drinking and carousing and stuff. Now, of course... Teenagers drink and fuck on their own for no reason other than it's fun. So it's a complex stew. But obviously that line is in there to show us that Aegon does feel some amount of pressure from his mom, as one would. That's not hard to understand. That doesn't excuse his actions, but it just helps us understand how that character was created, right?
I think he's hard to empathize with for some people, so they kind of have to really lay out his motivations a little bit more explicitly.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, any of these firstborn children, we can sort of compare to the kids that their parents forced them into sports in a really intense way at a really young age. Like gymnastics is the example, but really it's any sport where the kid is kind of good and then the parents get way too excited about it and they try to take a 9 or a 12-year-old and turn them into a pro athlete, and it can get pretty weird. And there's a little bit of that energy here with any of these heirs. So Jace is handling that pressure much better than Aegon, much more honorably, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think that he's actually come out and said that he didn't want to have anything to do with it. Like he's like, I don't want to do this. I don't. What if I don't want to challenge anyone and I just want to party all the time? She's like, that's not an option. That's not even a thing for you.
Yeah, and we also saw Rhaenyra deal with that at the very beginning of her life, where she was overlooked by Viserys, and her defense of that was to be like, oh, I don't care anyway, I just want to eat cake and fly the dragon. But we could see that she was actually hurt by being overlooked, and then stepped up and tried to take it more seriously when she was older. Real quick super chat that just came in. I felt like watching Jason Helena's dance made Viserys realize he had a way out and let it slip by. It was bittersweet for him, even in the end. And of course, thank you, Time Traveling Necromancer. I made a video about Jason Helena, the wedding that would have avoided war, or could have, obviously, not a sure thing, but definitely would have been a good try. So yeah, I liked the dance. It was a little bit of a nod to that. And of course, that dance is from the books. Like I said, that's something that happened in the books as well. But it did. I wonder if I will have to rewatch and see if Viserys gives it like a look of, if there's some emotion passing there, like, oh, maybe I should have done that thing that Rhaenyra suggested. But I'll have to rewatch for that one. Thank you.
He does have a little bit of a, and it's right before he kind of, you can tell that he starts to have his headaches and stuff. But as they're dancing, when you have the piece, you have that music going, he does kind of take it all in for a second. You can see the peace on his face shortly before it all falls apart to headache, and then the music's taken away and it all falls apart.
Yes, I definitely caught that look of peace and enjoyment. I just didn't know if it was like meant to specifically be a commentary on Jason Helena. But very cool that they did dance, and it just reminds us of the offer last week. Because the thing is, like I said, this was probably the best of this generation. You know, either Jason Bela or Jason Helena probably are the match that you would put forward as a good ruling couple. So, yeah, road's not taken, or that might not be taken. We'll have to see. Okay, so Raul Santiago says, I feel right now like when Ned Stark was killed in season 1 of Game of Thrones. Patty will be missed. Yes, definitely. It is a similar plot point. By the way, I thought that the Gray Area was joining. Yes, Gray Area was going to join me today, but she had to work late. In case you didn't know, she's in the medical field. That's why she's working on Sunday night. It's dire times in the medical field in many cases, short staffing and various things. So she's been working late all week, and we've been trying to schedule for a while. But, you know, both schedules very demanding with us having YouTube channels. But what I was saying is that I will get Gray on a stream soon here during the season, and we'll probably do several streams in the long gap that we'll have until season 2, because there's going to be lots of time to hash all this out. And all your favorite YouTubers like me and Tony and Gray and various other people will definitely all be collaborating and having discussions and stuff. So fear not, that's all coming. And I will try to get Gray on a stream during the season if we can. So, thank you, Talk, for stepping up.
Yeah.
And also, we're doing something next Saturday. Tim and Nettles will be back on Saturday to do a discussion stream of some kind, a topic I will choose, and to preview the next episode. So, they'll be back soon, too. And thank you for asking for Tim and Nettles in the chat.
Have you done all of them above that?
Yes, I'm going in order. Yeah, I'm going in order here. So, is the prophecy lost now? Brenda asked a minute ago. No, it is not. Rhaenyra knows about it, and it's on the knife itself. So Daemon may know about it, but I kind of doubt it because he's never mentioned it. But maybe Rhaenyra and Daemon will talk about it next week. Antoine says, rest in peace, Viserys. Next week, we Team Black go to war. It does seem like the shit's going to hit the fan next week. So, yes, I've read Fire and Blood, so I can't say too much more. But it's not going to be just like a smooth coronation of Rhaenyra. Like I said, where Alicent puts the crown on her head and everyone claps and goes home. That's probably not what's going to happen.
Yeah, running low on episodes, too.
And Jenny Masterson, yes, beasts under the boards. We've identified them with the rats. potentially with blood and cheese, although we can't talk about the details of that because that's spoilerific. But yeah, the blood and cheese thing probably will play on that. And of course, the one guy that's nicknamed Cheese is nicknamed Cheese because he's a rat catcher. So you feel like maybe someone will call a rat catcher soon to the Red Keep. Time-traveling necromancers suggesting that perhaps Rhaegar didn't find a book, but rather the knife. Yeah, I mean, the knife is just the story's version of this prophecy. So we've known that some version of this prophecy has existed, if not Aegon, that there was in the Targaryen hands a prophecy about the prince that was promised in the Long Night. And we know that Rhaegar did find scrolls about that. So now that we have more information, and George has said that some version of Aegon's prophecy is also true in the books, we can assume that Rhaegar probably did find either Aegon's prophecy or a subsequent Targaryen commentary on Aegon's prophecy. Either one of those things would work. In the show version, yeah, it would be the knife, but I don't think the books will have his prophecy on a knife per se. Although there are Valyrian steel implements in the books that do have runes on them. Euron's armor and the Valyrian steel bands on Dragonbinder both have Valyrian glyphs incised into the metal. And of course, George is influenced by Elric of Melniboné, whose black sword Stormbringer is incised with red runes that light up only when it catches on fire. So,
didn't you get the vibes that those runes are more for like the magical incantation, like that they aren't used as much in the story for communicating a message as they are for creating a magical power or in imbuing, that.
Yes, but I could see a poem or a dream and coded in runes that are usually used for magic spells and things like that. That could work for me. That is a good point, though. Yes, so Dragonbinder does have a message. It says, "Blood for fire, fire and blood. He who blows the horn, whatever." Blah, blah. So it does have a couple sentences on there. Euron's armor says, "I am a giant dick. Fear me and tremble." Something. Trembling dick. All right, so which dragons stand to grow the most during the break before season 2? Well, probably the smallest ones. Those are the ones we'll see the most measurable growth on. So, like, all the kids have small dragons, except for Helaena has Dreamfire and Aemond has Vhagar. All the other kids have young dragons. Any comments on Jasper Wilde, Christian? No, I didn't. He was the other guy in the small council, right? But I didn't.
I didn't even pick up on him.
Yeah, there's another dark-haired guy at the council, and then there's also Caswell. I'm not sure what his position is, but he's some sort of high position. So if anyone knows what Caswell's supposed to be, let me know.
They didn't have much of an interaction.
And then let's see here. Najma just sent in a $5. Thank you. Warmagix says, "What do you think about Aegon's comment about Alicent and Viserys never being proud of..." Oh, I read that one. I'm sorry. Apologies. We talked about that. And I read Rawls. Brennan says, nope, read that one. Fabricello says, "Shout out to Otto's smile at the dinner." Yeah, Otto's always good for those, great little smirks and things. He's a great smirker. Christian says, "Is Helaena autistic? If so, love the representation." So I've talked about this a couple times. I don't think, generally speaking, that they are, unless they tell us that they're thinking so specifically. However, I think it's totally valid for people with autism or ADHD or various other things to read that experience as comparable to their own. So it's not anything that anyone has to argue about per se, but I do think that increasingly you will see in stories more cognizance of neurodivergency is reflected by creating characters that are a little different. In Helena's case, she's a dreamer. So we can intuit that her intense prophetic gift, which seems stronger than Viserys', she's constantly getting foreshadowings, probably is the major explanation for why she's a little weird. So, but yeah, I think that's valid to read that into that and to relate to that. Yeah.
I mean, I think of Alia from Dune. Anyone who's slipping into the time stream or into the collective subconscious, you're going to lose yourself a little bit. You're not going to perceive the world the same way that the majority of people are going to perceive it. You're going to come off a little different.
Yeah, like she's not quite on the patch face end of the spectrum, but she's got more prophecies than a lot of dragon dreamers. They're just like leaking into her daily consciousness is the way that I perceive it. So that's pretty intense to me as a gift. Let's see here. Aaron says, I thought it meant them playing nice and sharpening knives under the table, the beasts under the boards. Okay, that's interesting. They were at the kitchen table at that moment. I tend to think that it's foreseeing something farther in the future than what's happening right then. But I do like that interpretation.
That would be funny, though, if she was predicting stuff that's happening in the room around her in the moment. She's like, I'm seeing... I'm going into the room here in just a second.
I spy with my little eye. Very cool. Scott says, this doesn't seem like the first time Alicent has had to do that with tea, and Daemon showed everyone in the room who was boss. Yes, I agree. That's like Alicent knew right away that the girl was telling the truth. And yeah, maybe not the first time. Like I said, those serving girls 2 episodes ago were kind of skedaddling when Aegon was leering at them. So yeah, you can put 2 and 2 together here pretty easy, I think.
She had her Aegon morning after kit already pulled together.
The Aegon morning after kit. Oh, jeez. Yeah, it's kind of like the celebrities. You go on the tour bus as like a groupie or something. They make you sign the disclosure form. I've been a groupie on a tour bus, so I've had this experience. But they make you sign that you're 18 and all this stuff. All right, let's change the subject. So I used to be in bands.
Pouch and like a little bag of cash on the way out. Like, take this tea. Don't forget.
Well, it actually is. There is a thank you kit also. It's like, yeah, it's more than just cab fare. Shout out to the Shake Weight. It's more than cab fare. Yeah. It's kind of one of those things. It's like, yeah, let's change the subject before I say something that will get me canceled. I used to be in a band, and I've heard many stories, and tour buses are interesting places for stories. So Dionysus Mata says, we saw a small, I read that one like 3 times already. Sticky Nicky, any connection between Targaryen and Valyrian women having kids and dragons laying clutches? Just seems Syrax and Silverwing laid many, like their riders had many children. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, that does make sense, doesn't it?
Like them having multiples.
Well, just the dragon paralleling the rider. So the women that have lots of children have dragons that have lots of eggs. The thing is, I'd have to go back and see which dragons are said to lay a lot of eggs. I know Dreamfire and Syrax both lay eggs. Silverwing too. Yeah, that rings a bell. So yeah, that's a pretty good observation. And I loved the scene with Daemon finding the egg. That was just righteous.
I commented on that when you went to go get your Squisher face. That I thought it was interesting. That it was really the only time we'd seen any of that. And getting to see that they're in like a tar pouch in like a little group. We just seen petrified eggs and them in those little metal warming containers before that. So that was cool.
Yeah, and Daemon brings them down and he gives them over and he says, make sure, put them in warming containers. So they're supposed to be kept warm. And that's why they're laid inside that gooey pile of something. It was semi-crusted over, shall we say, because Daemon had to like chip at it to get the egg out, and it was steaming. So it's whatever it is, whatever mysterious dragon secretion that is, it is hot and it keeps the egg warm. That's the idea. The goo, the dragon goo. Somebody come up with a really disgusting and catchy nickname for it. The dragon goo, the egg birth, whatever it is. The dragon discharge.
After tar.
That's pretty good. It needs to be more disgusting to displace dragon discharge. It's got to be worse than that. That's
after tar.
Yeah, that's not as disgusting.
Okay.
What is it?
Egg clot.
After tar. Oh. Ink blot.
Egg clot.
Egg clot.
Oh.
lava placenta, afterbirth,
Straight out of Aliens. Yeah.
dragon magma. Yeah.
It
Dragma
did look
sounds
kinda
really
like the
disgusting,
Blackfy.
though. That's one of those words that doesn't mean anything but sounds disgusting somehow. Okay. All right, let's get it together. Not that Karen. Crispy Cole being a role model for Aegon and Aemond. No surprise they've turned out so rotten. Oh yeah, that's something we haven't mentioned. He is kind of like the surrogate father figure since Viserys is not there, and he's a total shitbag. So there is that.
Yeah.
Step down, girl.
You think they got their lady skills from him too? All their charm.
Their charm. I'm just reeling on the facetiousness there. None of those kids are charming. I mean, I love Helena, but she's not really charming either. And the other two are pieces of work in different ways. But yeah, that's definitely Kristen Cole, a shit role model. Just a terrible dude. Cleo, it's probably not good if you bite my microphone cable while I'm streaming with the microphone. Thank you. You're going to go to bed here in a second. Mackenzie says, Alicent's kids are reflections of the behaviors that Alicent never showed because of Otto and his actions. Be more specific. Sounds like you have a specific idea there. I know that Alicent's definitely passing on the same crap that Otto did to her, to them. I guess we've talked about Alicent repressing her behavior. So I guess that's the point. Like, Aegon's not repressing his sexuality, whereas Alicent did. I'll have to think about that maybe on the discussion panel this Saturday.
I have one note about Alicent on that, where kind of that same idea. She's constantly surrounded by people not doing her duty, like her son assaulting that girl and having to clean up after him is just like another reminder of like, why am I the only person in the whole realm who knows that I just have to stay in my lane, do what I'm told, and you get the crown. Like, why is everybody else messing this up for me? Why do I have to clean up after everybody?
Yeah, there are these little moments when you can still sympathize with Alicent a little bit, and that was kind of one of them. It's like, yeah, but at the same time, it's like, who's the first person to blame for Aegon's behavior? It's Alicent, so kind of making her own bed there and then lying in it. Lion.
Do you think she would think it's that way though, or do you think she's laying in the bed that Otto made her make for herself? You know.
Well, I mean? Yeah, no, that's definitely valid too. But Otto didn't raise her kids, you know, she did, so that part is on her, I guess. Let's see here. But yeah, this does all start with Otto's ambition. That's what put the whole family on this trajectory, for sure.
And he's on the throne in this episode too.
Yeah, he sat his ass down there pretty comfortably. They were ready to pull that coup right there. They really were. Mackenzie, no, just read that. Let's see. Flement says, late message, missed the earlier stream. How would you compare the last words of Viserys to Maester Eamonn with Sam? Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Targ's on their deathbeds trying to remember dreams. The problem is that Viserys was on the milk of the poppy, so he wasn't clear-headed, and that's what made it all screwed up. But yeah, good comparison. Definitely a similar emotion, but twisted, because he thought that he was talking to Rhaenyra. So I wonder, we should really go back and try to see if we can tell from Alicent's facial acting if she figured out that Viserys thought he was talking to Rhaenyra or not.
Rewatch for sure, but I felt like at the end there, she, right before she says, I understand, I forget the exact wording, but it was like, I understand what I have to do, or I understand your wishes, or whatever it was. The way she said it was almost like I know this isn't what you said, but I know what you said. If that makes any sense. I think you're muted. I think you're muted again.
I was just saying I'm confused in general about what I'm supposed to take away from the scene. So I'll have to rewatch it and see if they clarified it on the sort of after the episode thing there. But let's see here. Stephanie's pointing out that, of course, rape's not always about sexuality so much as it is power. That's a valid point to make. So I think that Aegon is doing both. He is philandering and expressing his sexuality, but also abusing his power in different instances. I think both of those things are happening, but not always the same thing. Very true, Stephanie. And let's see.
I think he's also almost using, like, one of the things that people will do when power's kind of been taken from them, but they're in a powerful position. Maybe this is what she's getting at. They'll attack people to kind of feel more powerful.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, he doesn't feel like he's in control of his life. Alicent's dictating his life. And so he's abusing the power that he does have. That makes a lot of sense. That's good analysis talk. Thank you. Let's see here. The oily blackstone in a shy, could that be related to dragons, since we saw the dragon egg fluid afterbirth? So, yes.
Petrified.
Check out the Great Empire of the Dawn series, Chris. I chuckle because I've talked about this extensively. The whole playlist you'll probably find interesting. I did one live stream about the oily blackstone in particular, but definitely just check out the first Great Empire of the Dawn video. And yes, it's a thing. Could be related to dragons, indeed.
It's a hit. It's a big video, so check it out.
Yes, it's a whole iceberg that you've just run your ship against. So let's see here. Brian Holiday. I don't like the high towers, so I don't like the greens. But the blacks made a lot of mistakes before the battles even started. I feel bad for the kids, though, especially the strong boys. Terrible. I'm supposed to call them that. It's the highest of treasons.
Such strong boys.
You can get your head chopped off for that, or most of your head, like 3/4 of it, kind of.
It's epic.
Yeah, so House Hightower, they are pretty villainous, just as a house, as far as like Otto and Hobart and stuff. They're a really interesting house in the ancient lore, though. Again, check out the Great Empire of the Dawn series, the ancient Hightowers. There's a lot of mysteries around Old Town and stuff, so there's different aspects to the house. But yes, in this story, they're pretty hateable.
Yeah, you get to see kind of some of the big plays that they lay out could have possibly been going on. Kind of, you get to see those now, like how the people down in Highgarden, down in the Reach, how they got power from the Targaryens during Conquest. You can see them now manipulating that power on a whole nother level.
So Emmanuel with a good question. What is Eamonn's drive? This is something I don't quite understand. He can't want his brother to rule, and I don't expect him to want to kill Aegon. I think he's just all about his family and his team. And also, like Daemon, he's a restless dragon. And he's seeking out conflict. He's seeking out a way to prove himself. He's seeking out somebody to test himself against. He's just looking for that. For a personal reason, and also because I think he just rocks for his family. So even Aegon is a shit. He will defend his claim, absolutely. But we'll have to see if Aemond, because Aemond probably believes he would be a better king than Aegon as well. So we'll have to see how that dynamic plays out when the Greens try to take power. That's definitely something to watch. So good comment there. Time-traveling necromancer, to be devil's advocate. He sees how his older sister gets to act. It doesn't excuse rape, but explains the sexual promiscuity. I don't really think so. Rhaenyra's not in the Red Keep, and there's just way too much sexual promiscuity around to sort of zero in on that as being linked. I really don't think that has anything to do with it myself. Let's see here. Did anyone else notice the cat's paw dagger in Vhagar's eye on the HBO cover for the show? Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people. Yeah, that's been out for a couple weeks, so yeah. I love all the symbolism in that. Well, it's the whole, the prophecy is like a knife that cuts both ways. Magic is a sword without a hilt. There's a lot to that, for sure.
Foreshadowing the scene in the dining hall when she goes at her with the dagger. Like it does a lot for this season.
Yeah, and of course, what we're contesting over is the power of the dragons, the legacy of House Targaryen. So it's the dragon's eye right in the middle. And then there's the lyrics of the song, Under the Dragon's Eye. Both ladies are standing under the dragon's eye. We'll have to see if they develop that idea. Yeah, Aemond and Aegon would both be terrifying as kings in different ways. Aegon would be another Aegon, well, not another, but later in Targaryen history, there's a king called Aegon the Unworthy, who's the ultimate glutton and bad king. He has lots of bastards, and he creates all kinds of problems. Aegon Alicent's son seems like he would be another king like that. Aemond, however, it's the same thing as like King Daemon. You fear how close to a Maegor-like path that we might walk by the end of that. So
the realm never likes a headstrong, powerful ruler like that. You know, it never, at least the way they're painted in the history books, it always comes off like they caused a lot of problems in the realm.
So Talk, I need to put Cleo to bed. Can you do you have a point that you're ready to jam on for like 60 seconds, or do you want me to throw you a super chat question?
Yeah, tell me a super chat.
Alex asks, looking at grown dragons, now I notice their eggs are too small, or is it certain dragon type that is the egg layer? Well, I mean, I think I don't know enough about biology if there's ratios for like how big eggs are supposed to be to dragons, but I mean they hatch pretty small and then they get really big. They're magical, so
magic.
Yeah.
That's what I go for.
Let me see. What other question can I throw at you? Swagger Dagger says, God, I hope we get a Blackfire Rebellion adaptation someday. I would be hugely in favor of that, and I think this series sets it up. Do you have thoughts on a Blackfire Rebellion show?
I think that'd be cool. I think that would be the next reasonable timeline to cover. I think that, I don't know, the Age of Heroes is what I would really, that's the one I want to see. The mythology, the ancient stuff. That's the
you're probably not going to get that. We're probably not going to get that. And I think I might only want to hear that from George anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to give you something so that I can go put Cleo away.
How about we can talk a little bit about the court scene with Vaemond and the claim and
yes, that's one we've kind of missed. You're right.
Tongues.
We've kind of neglected that. So start in on that, and I'll rejoin you in just a second. Thank you.
Gotcha. So we talked a little bit about Vaemond earlier and how he was laying his claim out. It didn't sound like he had a great claim, but they definitely dismissed him pretty quickly. I think the way that they've handled the removing of tongues comments this season was interesting, given how we saw it during Game of Thrones initially. Like the way we were introduced to it was with Cersei, demanding tongues being removed and it happening immediately. But, last episode we saw, I think it was Alicent demanded the boy's eye in return. And Kristen's like, hey man, that's not what we do around here. We don't just kill people for acting up like that. We're protectors. And Daemon in the courtroom was quick to act on. I don't even think Viserys got the words out of his mouth before Daemon had his head off. I thought that was a pretty quick reaction time. I don't know if Daemon would have just done it anyway if Viserys wouldn't have said it, but he was more ready than Kristen was whenever he was asked to remove time.
I said it was almost magical, like the way that Viserys draws the knife and then Daemon swings his sword. It seems like both things were happening at the same time.
I was just commenting a little bit about how the tongue removal from Game of Thrones was such a common thing that was done in the court, and now in this season it was like, no, that's not something Kingsguard would ever do. We don't do that type of stuff. Then Daemon was quick to step it up.
Well, you see, I've made the point many times that Robert's Kingsguard is very fallen, and of course, it even gets worse after Joffrey takes the throne. But it really starts with Aerys, because Aerys was such an abusive king, and the Kingsguard just enabled all of it. So a lot of these most famous names, like Sir Gerald Hightower and Arthur Dane, these are scumbags, in my opinion. They enabled all of Aerys' worst behaviors on this misguided idea about Kingsguard honor. Like, just to be obedient is the purest virtue. So I've definitely have thoughts about Kingsguard, but you could definitely see that this is a different era, with the Kingsguard, yeah.
But I definitely think Daemon had his own motivation for lopping that head off. He wanted to make sure that, no one was stepping to Viserys for sure. But as soon as he saw his opportunity to eliminate that claim, he took it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, yeah. He's like, I can get away with this, and we're going to go ahead and take care of this. Like I said, in the books, Rhaenyra has her dragon eat Vaemond Velaryon because he's uttering his treasons on Driftmark, I believe, and then Vaemond's brothers go to protest in King's Landing, and Viserys has their tongues torn out. I believe that's how it falls out. So a little bit of a change. We need Rhaenyra to do something similar to that, or else she's at risk of being whitewashed a little bit, almost, I would say. So we'll have to see, because Rhaenyra's she's a dragon, and that's kind of like, we need to see that side of her. But we'll see. I don't like to get angsty about the show when it's not done telling its story, so. But it's definitely a note that's missing, is what I'm trying to say.
And she was courting a little bit, last episode. She's still kind of getting into their new groove with Daemon and everything in their relationship and fitting into the realm. She did say she's coming back on Dragonback, even though she said it very sweetly to Alicent. I don't know how sweetly you can come back on Dragonback.
Yeah, there was definitely some loaded wordplay there. Now, okay, let's talk about the Vaemond thing. Obviously, Vaemond is correct that those kids are not his nephews. We know that.
Treason.
Yeah, I wasn't in the bedroom, but I'll go with you.
I wasn't in the bedroom, he says. Very good. And so let's try to see his side of it, I guess is what we're saying. He starts off with being right on the facts. We can sort of sympathize with the idea that, like, okay, he wants his house bloodline to continue. He doesn't want, that's understandable. It's like, oh, well, if no Velaryons are actually involved in this who rules Driftmark, then what happens to our family? That's valid. Of course, he's prioritizing his own case there over the peace of the realm, because by bringing this case to King's Landing, he is directly challenging Rhaenyra's claim to the throne, as they point out. So he's willing to plunge the whole realm into war to press his own personal case, which for me is a no-go. That's, even if he's right on the merits of his complaint, that's not putting the small folk in the peace of the realm first. So I come down pretty hard on Vaemond for that. And obviously, if you step up in open court and just defy the king over and over like that, like, you're going to get your head cut off. That doesn't even matter what we're talking about at that point. That's just defying the king. So, whatever. So he has a point, but there's no question he earned that beheading. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for him. I don't know. That's one of those ones where, like I said, he was caught up in the heat of the moment. His brother kind of fell ill and died suddenly. Like, it wasn't something that he was able to anticipate. And then it probably felt like the next day they were in court trying to claim Driftmark from his brother. and then continuing to not acknowledge the clear issues of who the daddy is, I think really got under his skin there in the court. He was really trying to just lay out his claim. Rhaenyra interrupted him. He did not handle that well.
Yeah, right. Like he started off being kind of like, oh, I'll just imply it, and but not actually say it. But then, of course, once they pushed him a little bit, because he pretty much was saying it, so it's valid for Rhaenyra and Daemon to sort of force him out and be like, well, just go ahead and if you're gonna say it, then say it, because that's how people. We saw Eamonn do the same thing. Like, oh, I didn't call. I was just saying they were strong. And so it's a troll move of trolls everywhere is to imply something and everyone knows it's what you're implying. And then you play in it. Oh, I didn't mean that. So that's, give me some, we can get some troll memes for Eamond and Vaymond. if the internet memers out there, the crying face one, you guys know the one. So. I resisted the urge to make a Rhaena crying face emoji last week because I thought that would be insensitive.
Yeah. Timing.
Oh, no dibs on dragons. Sorry. No. I'm a bad person. All right. I hate children and hobbits. It's well established. How much do you think the show will focus on cool non-dragon battles in addition to the dragon-on-dragon battles? Oh, well, I mean, most of the dragon battles also involve troops as well. So we're going to see all types of battles. We'll see dragon battles in the sky alone. We'll see the dragons roasting troops. We'll see people throwing scorpions and spitfires at dragons. We will get every permutation of that, and that will basically be most of the rest. And Harfoots, too. Screw those Harfoots. They're basically the same as hobbits. What is with that? Like, no Harfoot left behind. Oh wait, no, every Harfoot left behind. Keep up or die. Yes. Take their wheels. God, there's some bloodthirsty little hobbits. Those Harfoots. Anyway.
Only the strong.
I got confused about what show we were talking about there for a second. Shout out to Mushroom, the bongo drummer. That's confirmed, by the way. Mushroom is the bongo drummer that we saw. It was obvious. He had a very mushroom-like head profile with his hair, and yes, so that's him.
But we didn't get any lines, like any insight, any songs or anything that would line up with the stories that were told about like the stuff that he would do.
I think that they will use only a little bit of it. I think that he's not going to have anything like the role that is kind of given to him in Fire and Blood, but I do think he will do some of it. And I think I could see him. We've seen that Rhaenyra likes musicians, right? She had a musician playing for her when she was reading by the tree as a young person. So maybe something weird happens and Mushroom ends up being the Targaryen house band leader for Daemon and Rhaenyra's court or wherever they're hanging out. So we'll see. I do expect him to just sort of sit in the background and then be used here and there. But he should be an informant. Like, if he's going to be used with dialogue and plotting, he should be part of the Mysaria, Green Seer Strong, whatever his name is, the three-eyed... give me some. Come on, help me out. I need to make fun of this.
Like a Mummers Troop or something, like part of the Mummers Troop. I could see him being, in with that angle, like they did in Game of Thrones, where the Mummers Troop was like a device for spying.
Bloodraven, of course, used the dwarves in his Mummers Troop to steal a dragon's egg at White Walls. In fact, so. Lares, thank you, Lares. Yeah, three-eyed Lares. Just going with it. He's a green seer. He's got dragon dreams too. He probably has Shade of the Evening. He's God. He's the God Emperor Lares. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's tinfoil. All right. Maybe it's weird with paste. Yeah. So guys, if I missed, I think I have the impression that I have answered all the super chats. So if I have missed any questions,
No, you've not missed any.
Cool. Yeah.
Minty would never let you miss.
Minty
one of the
says
super
I've gotten them
chats.
all, but yeah, if there's anybody, yeah, I guess it's been about 2 hours, so yeah, let's call it early last call for questions. Yeah. So how about Rhaenys? Rhaenys in Fire and Blood, Rhaenys, there's not a lot to her. She's mostly a plot device until the battle gets started, and then she's got some really great moments in the war. But there's a lot more personality here. And a lot of it is kind of unsettling. Like, she's not pro Rhaenyra. She's got a little bit of kind of like, well, you're going to have to prove it energy to Rhaenyra. But mostly I think Rhaenys is just, we're supposed to understand that she has no illusions about any of this. And she's ultra realistic, a little bit heartless maybe. But the bottom line is like, this is the Game of Thrones. Don't expect me to compromise my political position for sentimentality. That's kind of her deal, right?
Yeah, and I think her, like you said, her role in the book was really to kind of lay out how someone in her position would get treated with a claim to the throne. Whereas here, we got to dive into her character a little bit more, but she's still playing that role where she's the one that we got to see get passed over by the male for no reason other than her being a female. And we get to see everyone reflecting upon that, her having all the insight while everyone's still kind of blind to it. So she's kind of that perspective that the audience has that the people in the show don't really have yet. She's getting there.
Yeah, I think that they're slow playing her. I think they're building it up for this moment where she joins Rhaenyra's side. They didn't want to make it simple to be like, oh, well, yeah, of course. No, they've created a little drama with the claim. And it's interesting that, like, when she was talking to Corlys, she was making the case that it shouldn't pass to Luke. But after Corlys made that decision, she's now backing up her husband's decision. So she understands the importance of projecting unity as a ruling couple, which is important. And, of course, she's loyal to her husband. But, again, I don't think it's more about pragmatism than an emotional sense of loyalty just to her husband. Like she understands as a ruling couple they can't be divided, especially not by the likes of Vaemond. So she's rolling with that. And then of course the solution was obvious to marry Baela and Rhaena to Jason Luke, and they came up with that. So we knew that happened in the books, but in the books it's done as soon as the kids are born. They do that betrothal. And we always suspected that was why Corlys was okay with the strong boys, was because they were immediately betrothed to Daemon and Laena's true-born Valyrian kids. So they worked it a similar logic way, but just the timing a little different. So I think it's all done pretty well, and I think that we're going to see some pretty interesting stuff here with Rhaenys and Rhaenyra as the war progresses, now that they've created this more interesting character of Rhaenys. Like, her loyalty is hard-earned. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's going to mean a lot when she throws down for Rhaenyra, so.
And I feel like now it's probably okay to let her in on the fact that her son isn't dead. And hadn't been
I hope
burned
they
alive.
tell her. I really
Just to,
do.
like, have the trauma a little bit. All her kids are dead and stuff. She's gone
Yeah, it'd be nice. Be a nice little sweetener. And oh, by the way, so Jess Waterston, sorry. Do you think Rhaenyra's blood on the dagger will have anything to do with prophecy? Okay, so I did have a little brainwave of symbolism just now. Check this out. So Alicent, the knife represents the prophecy. Last week, Alicent steals that from Viserys' belt and uses it to strike Rhaenyra. Okay, so Alicent is going to try to seize the throne and the legacy of this prophecy. And we saw tonight that she has either intentionally or accidentally misunderstood what Viserys has said to refer to her son Aegon, based on this prophecy. However, the knife still cut Rhaenyra, and the prophecy says, "From my blood will come the prince that was promised." So if we want to interpret this symbolically, we could say that Alicent will try to steal that, but ultimately from Rhaenyra's blood will still come Jon and Dany. And that is, of course, I guess that's a spoiler, but no, her bloodline does eventually lead to Jon and Dany. That doesn't mean anything about who wins the war or who sits the throne, because there's many branches of the Targaryen family and they intermarry and all this stuff happens. But Rhaenyra's bloodline and Daemon's bloodline does lead to Jon and Dany. So that's probably what they're showing us with that knife struggle. Like, Alicent will take it, seize it, but from Rhaenyra's blood, literally, it is drawn, will come this prophecy. So, I'm interested. Go ahead.
An attempt to weaponize the prophecy against Rhaenyra when it was intended for her, and it's just not something you can't misappropriate a prophecy.
Exactly. That's a great way of saying it. Alicent will weaponize the prophecy. And that's probably why they added this note, maybe, of her misunderstanding Viserys' thing. It's just to sort of draw that theme out. Ultimately, it still doesn't, like, whitewash Alicent if she decides to try to challenge Rhaenyra's claim. But it is an interesting piece. So, like I said, I'm curious to see if there's more commentary on how we're supposed to interpret that scene and what Alicent is thinking exactly. But thanks for the great question, Jess. That was good. Lit Compilation says, I'm going to need Jace to become a good warrior because Eamon ain't playing. No, he is not. No, he is not. But Daddy Daemon's still around, too. So Daemon needed somebody to fight. You know, it wasn't going to be Otto. So it's like, ultimately, you got to have these good matches setting up. So.
There's a couple of super chats. I think there might be some PayPal.
Oh, okay, thank you. Hazy Dave says, how much do you think the show will focus? Oh, I read that one. Arian says, did you discuss Viserys' Odin symbolism? No, I did not. Could you? Was it the transcendence towards death that embodied the symbolism? I guess that would be it. I mean, he wasn't gaining power in that situation, but he essentially was dying. So I'm not sure. I'll have to think about that.
I felt like they were doing more of a skeleton vibe, like almost trying to make him look like a living corpse than they were trying to do the Odin symbolism on him.
That's definitely how I interpreted it emotionally. But it's hard not to at least compare him to Eamon, since they're both one-eyed. But maybe the idea is like every blow that leads to the Civil War is sort of mirrored on Viserys' body. So like Otto's a rotten hand, Aemond losing his eye and claiming Vhagar is a major piece of building up to the war, and so he's lost his eye. Maybe it's something kind of like that.
Because I can't think of any power that he gains after losing the eye. Like he's going the other way.
No, the only thing is that he died, but he didn't transcend death, really.
He's hanging on a tree.
Jen Bledsoe, Jon Snow, Aegon the Sixth. Yeah, I'm not sure what the question is. I think Jon would be Aegon the Seventh if he's Aegon. Well, no, because the Sixth wouldn't be crowned. Aegon the Sixth would have been Rhaegar's son, but he wouldn't crowned. Because you only get a number if you're crowned, of course. I think when Rhaenys saw her cousin do that emotional walk, she felt like a proud Targaryen and backed Rhaenyra. Well, that's nice to think that, but again, I think Rhaenys is all pragmatism, and Viserys coming down completely turned the tables on the High Towers. So I think that had more to do with it. But I'd like to imagine that Rhaenys was proud of her cousin too for showing a little bit of kingness right there at the end. Daemon and Aemond literally. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, talk.
I don't think she knew that Viserys was going to defer to her on the petitions either. I think that was definitely a surprise whenever he goes. I think the only person that has any insight on what Lord Corlys would have wanted is his wife. You know, I thought that was a big move that his sister was not expecting from him.
Yeah, that was. I have to think about that one a little more. I guess he was like trying to rely on his family at the last minute. Like that's who he thought he could rely on the most. And it was logical. I mean, it was logical just to ask her that question.
He walked in and they were just going at it. And he was almost like, what is this nonsense? Are you guys petitioning for Corlys? Talk to his wife if you really want to know what Lord Corlys wanted. Dismiss this nonsense. Otto, what is this thing you were doing in my court?
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
it was a way of dealing with it fairly in a logical sense, and definitely a banger line as far as I must admit my confusion why we're having a meeting about a succession that's already settled. That was nice little kingly mic drop there. So Christian says that Daemon and Eamon literally mirror each other this episode. Every time one of them does something rogue, crazy, they look at each other with understanding approval. Yeah, I definitely think they see that kinship there. And like I said, two great sword fighters, almost in a way they're kind of like brothers or friends because they relate to each other in a way that no one else can, even though they're enemies. And George is into that concept a lot. I think Jamie talks about it a bit.
Brothers in arms.
Let's see. Hemi sent in a super chat. No question. And, PayPal. Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, Chelsea. Yes, indeed. Also known as Ecstatic Nihilist. 6-month avid listener. Very cool. Welcome to the family. Your content is amazing. This is half thank you, half question. Do you think Helena's dragon dream from episode 7 as possibly being prophetic of both the Greens and Blacks having people get serious stitches for wounds inflicted by the opposite sides? If this was brought up in the last episode, I apologize. No, I haven't seen anyone suggest that. Yeah, so that could be another aspect of the weaving is all the wounding, or you could look at the wounds as reflecting on the theme of what the dragons are sowing, the discord that they're sowing. That's interesting. That's cool. I had not thought of that. Obviously, Eamon gets a big, fat, nasty scar sewn up in that episode, and she also prophesied about the loss of his eye. So that's pretty good observation there. Go ahead.
She gets that train track. Rhaenyra gets the train track down her forearm.
Also in that same episode, yes. So dragons on both sides got stitches. That's pretty good. Okay, Chelsea, you might have something there. I'll have to think about that when I watch the episode back. Very nice. Listening for 6 months, and look at you, already making symbolic contributions of your own. Well done. Well done. Was Viserys talking about Rhaenyra's son, Aegon? Yes, I think so. I want to watch it again. No, I don't think so. I think he was talking about the original Aegon, and then also talking about Rhaenyra in the same breath. And Alicent, because Viserys barely remembers he has other kids. At one point, he was called Rhaenyra his only child. That was like senility happening there. He forgot that he had another family, which is supposed to be kind of maddeningly ironic, because it's like, yeah, if you hadn't had another family, we wouldn't have this problem. Rhaenyra, very poignant moment, saying to Viserys, you put me in a bad position, father, and it's kind of too much for me. It almost sounded like she was thinking of abdicating the position. But I think she has a sense of responsibility about it. And that's why she was asking him about the prophecy. She's like, how important is it really? Like, is it really, really important? Because it's kind of a pain in the ass. So got to know.
Yeah. She said she couldn't bear it. She's like, I don't think I can bear this anymore. So I think she really wanted to just actually have that heart-to-heart with her dad about the responsibility of ruling that she never got to have when she was younger. And he was not there anymore.
Yeah, she may have tried to set it down, but she probably wouldn't feel like she could do that unless Viserys understood that she was doing that and was kind of okay with it. Because otherwise, she feels responsible still, because Viserys was the one that gave her that, responsibility, that burden. So yeah. I want to analyze that again, that scene. I need to go line by line and see what Viserys was saying and what Alicent thought she might have thought she was hearing. Let's see here. So yeah, definitely last call for questions now, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I had one thing on Allison this episode, just costume.
You got to go into the office. You get some pages there. Are you a doctor?
I think it's my wife. I'm an attorney.
Are you selling drugs?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
We work late hours.
Oh yeah. You're old enough to remember when having a pager as a teenager meant that you probably sold drugs, right?
Yeah, I was also the only child that rode my bike, so my parents gave me a pager to let me know when I was supposed to come home.
That's a good cover story. I wish I had thought of that. No, I'm kidding. Totally kidding. I would never. Where were we? Let's see here.
I was going to say on Allison's costume this episode, she was going hard with the green and gold. Like, I know she'd been doing that a little bit past couple episodes, but I hadn't, maybe she had, but the 7-pointed star was like huge, like half the size of her face on her chest this episode.
It's one step away from carving it in her damn forehead like Loras, huh?
Yeah. She took it down a little bit at the dinner, but she still had the 5-pointed star front and center at the dinner too, which maybe I just didn't notice it, but I didn't feel like they'd been pushing the 5-pointed star symbolism like at all this season.
7-pointed star.
7, sorry.
5-pointed star is different.
That's the normal one. Yeah.
So, we also saw Allison's already been redecorating in the spirit of Robert Baratheon a little bit, taking down Targaryen stuff and putting up more Faith of the Seven shit. So was that 7-pointed star window new? Because they lingered on it a lot and then panned down to the small council. Was that like a new addition? Does anyone know?
I didn't notice that it was or wasn't.
I'll have to go back and look. But yeah, Allison has pumped up the religious iconography. So they were purposely killing Viserys. Is it ever established? Well, I mean, no. We're supposed to infer it. It's not something that's been confirmed. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, if he's been on opioids for that many years, that's going to have all kinds of effects of its own besides the leprosy. But yeah, I mean, it does seem like the Maesters were not helping him, and he seemed to do better. The biggest clue, I think, is that he got a lot better after Melos left and Orwell took over. So, and that's also what happened in the books. Orwell had different treatments that worked better. So we're left to wonder if Melos was just incompetent or was actually working in bad faith, which seems to be the implication. He's whispering to Otto so much in the early episodes, you know.
I feel like we saw something similar to that with Baratheons and like getting back to their, maybe it was at Storm's End, but they had gone back, and once they got away from the Maesters, they had recovered faster back at Storm's End. It wasn't in like the story, it was further back, but
yeah, there's just a lot of that sort of stuff all throughout Fire and Blood for sure. So Centrium is adding that it is new, that the window is new. So that's pretty interesting. Are we talking about the window over the Iron Throne or the one in the small council room? To be clear, Centrium, if you could clarify. That would be cool if, like, the famous 7-pointed star window above the Iron Throne that we saw all of Game of Thrones, it's like, oh, Allison put that in. That would be kind of awesome. I hope that is the case. And then someone else was asking, what's a pager? Oh, that's my girlfriend. That's right. You're not quite as ancient as me. They were these little things. You know what a damn pager is. Okay, so let's see here.
We never had them. I was alive in the 90s.
Yeah, well, you were definitely too young to be dealing drugs then, so.
Just you Americans and your bloody pages.
We thought we were very special.
Yeah, it does feel a little American, doesn't it? It's a little pretentious to be having a pager when you're a kid.
Yeah, everyone wanted to be Ice Cube. That's definitely true. Let's see here. There was a remark I wanted to read. I lost it.
Sorry.
That's okay. We're 2.5 hours in. It's fine. Cheryl says her husband noticed the skin on his finger was cut on the throne again. I did not notice that. I figured he probably would. I was worried he was just going to fall over and impale himself on one of them damn swords. I was genuinely worried about him going up those stairs. And let's see here. Oh, opinion. What's going on? What's going to happen to Viserys' model? Jenny asks. Well, like I said last week, I think Allison is going to push that thing off the table or order it to be smashed or just throw it out the window or something. Like, she's gonna destroy it. I'm positive. We'll see.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, I'm not
Yeah, right.
positive because I know. I'm just confident in my prediction. Sets it
She'll
alight.
make-
Yeah, I would settle for any of that. Like, I wanted to see her like burn it and smash it and throw it out the window.
I'm thinking like a romantic scene with her, kind of out of repressed feelings on top of it. Like out of all that time that he ignored her just to focus on
Oh,
his
her and
model.
Kristen Cole
Ooh.
doing sexy time on the. That doesn't seem very comfortable. That Valerian city, but I don't know.
It's more about the spite than the comfort.
Yeah, Allison's into BDSM. Who knew? Well, that was an easy one to know, actually. If oh man, so many stories. Okay, so I think that will just about do it, folks. Talk, you've been a great guest. Of course, Tawk Studios, TAWK, on YouTube.
Thank you for
And
having me.
closing thoughts.
I'm excited for the end of the season. I want to see, because I think we're going to get at least a little bit. I think we're going to get a little bit of dragon action. I think we're going to get a little more than just the kids fighting this season before the season's end. So I feel like things are going to get pretty crazy in the next couple episodes.
Yeah, there is. We are going to get a little bit of battle, a little bit of fighting, conflict before the season's over. We know that. I mean, just from a writing beat standpoint, they're going to give us a little taste of the war to come. And if you've read Fire and Blood, you can probably guess which thing will be happening in one of the next 2 episodes. Not sure which. There's going to be a lot of fireworks in the last 2 episodes. There's a couple of things in particular that will be jaw-dropping, shocking moments for people who don't see them coming. So, and probably even for us who do.
Yeah.
So don't miss the next 2 episodes for sure. But thanks, guys, for coming out. Thanks for watching on the rewatch. Thanks for squishing to the channel. And rest in peace, King Viserys. His Dragon Ball will never see his like again. And I'm sure everything will be fine next week. So
All is well.
all is well.
Fine. It's fine.
It'll be a nice funeral, be a state funeral and a coronation, and it'd be 9-episode season. That's it. Curveball, no war. We changed that.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. We'll get fired during this funeral. No more of that shallow water funeral stuff.
We need some like Viserys' corpse sitting up in his coffin action. That'd be great.
Like a wake, like an Irish wake style.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, we'll see. It's I joke because, like I said, the next 2 episodes are going to be very intense and probably have a little bit of tragedy. So strap up, strap in, buckle up, whatever metaphor you prefer, and as long as the arms and legs are inside the ride, inside the vehicle at all times. And I've run out of metaphors. All right, guys, I will see you this week with another video, and next Saturday with Tim and Nettles, and then next Sunday night with more post-game breakdown. So thanks, Tawk Studios, and I'll have you back on again sometime. Like I said, going to have almost probably like 2 years until Season 2 comes on, so lots of time for discussion panels and the like.
Thank you. We're excited.
right. Cheers, and
Good
thank
time.
you very much in the chat for all your great questions. I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, I'm just saying thank you. Had a great time.
Oh, you had a great time. Thank you. There's a little bit of a delay here, but there we go. Awkward dismount. It's kind of like when you're trying to hang up one of those, on the phone chat. You just can't hit the button, and you're just staring at someone like trying to hang up desperately. That's what this is like now.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Like a
See you
painting.
later.